Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, which is called Mark by Manya. And life has been pretty busy lately for me. I have been attending wedding functions of two of my friends, and there are still some left to attend. And but I did manage to finish an 850 or so page book, which is called A Day of the Fallen Night, sorry, not light, and which is a prequel to a very popular The Priory of the Orange Tree. Both are very thick books, as you can see, and so let's dive in to the review. There's a time period difference between Priory and this A Day of the Fallen Night, and that time period, like, this book's history is this book. Like, the things that happen in this book are talked as historical events in this book, and this book is set in the 500s of the Common Era, and this book is set in 1000s of the Common Era. So but both are standalones. Like, you can understand this one without reading this one, and you can understand this one without reading this one. The genre of the book is fantasy, and to narrow it down, it's an epic fantasy. To begin with, the most notable feature of the book is its thickness, as I mentioned. I got a proof copy, a review copy from Bloomsbury, India for this one. So they gifted me this book. Thank you, Bloomsbury, India, if you're watching this, which I think you are not, because I'm pretty new to blogging. But yeah, I'm happy to have received this book as a review copy, and because I really wanted to read it and I really wanted to review it. So I'll basically start with giving you an outline of the book. So there's this fantastical world created by Samantha Shannon, and the way she has decided to narrate it to us readers is via directions. So there's north, south, east, west, or east, west, whatever. So she has divided the chapters as directions. Like, it is a multiple point of view narration, but the narration is not by characters, but more like it is a narrative from different directions. First chapter starts with the east direction, right? So that's how the chapters are divided through directions, which I think is pretty smart, because if she had gone by characters, there are too many central characters for people to keep up with because of the thickness of the book. If the book had been like a smaller one, maybe multiple points of views of different characters would have been easier to keep up with. But then, geographically, in this world, it also matters to know about the directions and the beliefs of countries or kingdoms in those directions. So the narration is through directions. So there's north, there's south, there's east, there's west, as I mentioned. Why am I repeating myself? And so in the north, I'm reading it out, I have noted it down because it's so big that nobody can remember that much. So in the north, there's a significant kingdom called Kingdom of Roth. I hope the pronunciations are correct. And south has the Priory of the Orange Tree. Basically, the place, I think, is called Lasia, Lasia, and there's Priory situated in that place. It is a secret society of sorts. So, and then there's east, Kingdom of Seiki, and then there's west, Queendom of Ines. Take care. So this one, what I like about this book is there are queendoms, and there's a whole lot of equality, and like men, women, sexual, asexual, or like any sexual or orientation is normal in this world. Nothing is a deal is not made out of any of that stuff, which is how the world should be, and it's not currently, like, in reality. So yeah, north, Kingdom of Roth; south, Priory of the Orange Tree; east, Kingdom of Seiki; west, Queendom of Ines. Okay, like, what the book is sort of centered around, I would say, it's dragons. So there are good dragons and there are bad dragons. To like put it simply, you'll only know if you read it. So the good dragons are worshipped in the east of this fantastical world, and they are called dragons, and they are gods who are currently sleeping as this book is going on. And the bad dragons are called worms. And yeah, so that's how the distinction goes, dragons and worms. And so what's amazing is that, like any world, there are different beliefs around things. So in a section of the world, only worms exist, the bad dragons, and they are to be slayed. And then in the east kingdom of Seiki, the good dragons, the gods, the god dragons exist, which the rest of the world doesn't know about. I don't know how that works, but that's how it is. But the entire world fears one worm called the Nameless One, which, and the story of Nameless One is kind of divided in terms of narration or the credits as to who slayed the Nameless One. But yeah, everybody fears the Nameless One or the worms, or even the people who worship dragons in their countries. So the story goes that the Nameless One first came through the eruption of a volcano or a mountain called the Dread Mount, and brought with him a plague, and people died, etc., etc. And according, the real story goes that a woman called Cleolind killed the Nameless One with a sort of a magical sword, and that's how the Nameless One vanquished from the earth. But there's this queendom called Queendom of Ines, which believes that a saint, or like he was a person later, people started worshipping him. So a saint called Galleon Breathnet was the one who slayed the Nameless One. And this and the backstory goes that the Galleon Breathnet went to the place where Nameless One had appeared and said to those people that I will kill that worm or dragon in exchange for marriage with Cleolind. Cleolind declined that marriage and ended up killing the Nameless One herself. And when Galleon came back to his land, the Ines, he told people he married a woman who was named Cleolind but was not the real Cleolind, and he took the credit for killing or slaying the Nameless One. So that land worships the Galleon Breathnet, and the Priory knows that Cleolind killed her, and the rest of the world, I think, that it doesn't care. So it's all centered around this. And in this book, what happens is the Red Mount erupts again, but instead of the Nameless One, his second in command, or his right hand, sort of appears, called Federal, it was, I think. Sorry if I'm wrong. So yeah, and he's coming, and the plague has come, and the entire land is struggling to survive. So let's talk about characters. So in in each of these directions, a woman is the main character, and a few men also. So let's talk about Glorian. Glorian is the princess of the Queendom of Ines. She is the daughter of Sabran, and her mother, the queen, is not a very loving mother. She's very stern. She's very strict. She is very expecting of Glorian, and she thinks Glorian is weak. And Glorian's dad, who is the king of North, is a very emotionally available father. He loves his daughter, and so Glorian kind of got lucky with the dad. And her mom isn't cruel, but she just is very strict and very hard on her, and that's sort of cruel, I would say. But yeah, she didn't abuse her or anything, but Glorian always craved love from her mom. Then there's Dumai. I don't know whether I like her or not. She did not leave a mark upon me. She was born in the East Kingdom of Queendom of Seiki, and yeah, she didn't see whatever. What am I saying? Anyway, so she didn't leave much of an impression on me, though she was a very integral and important part of the story, and she did make an impact in the larger story. But as a character, I kind of wanted to skim through whenever the East chapters came, only taking only picking up the important parts. I wasn't invested in the character or her story. And then there's south, where there's Tunova, and then there's west, where I already mentioned Glorian, and north was Roth. Okay, I'm sorry if I have confused you, but that's how it goes. Then there comes Wolf. He's a lost child from. Okay, I will not give you any spoiler. This is a very important part of the story. So he's an adopted child, and he uh, was found in the queendom of Ines, and he's Glorian's best friend. There's two more characters. There's Siu, there's Esbar, who are important characters as well. About it, I like the characters, and I like Glorian a bit more than others because she was strong. Even though she was strong, she was sweet, even though her mother was kind of cruel to her. And yeah, and a notable point is that at one point in the book, Glorian goes all out on her mom and tells her that you think I am weak, but I am not. I will prove myself, this and that. And that was a strong message to her mother, and she did prove. She was a more powerful queen than her mother, I would say, like in a different sense, but she did prove herself, and she was really young when she became queen. But yeah, amazing character development and good investment. And Wolf also, I was really invested in him as well. Tunuva a bit, Domai not at all. So that's about the characters. So I did mention that it's all related to the Nameless One and the Dreadmount, and at the beginning of the, like, not beginning, but like the crux of the book starts from when the Dreadmount erupts again and plague comes again and things start happening. And I will not go into that because it is, as you can see, a very thick book and I can't summarize it. So let's start talking about my feelings towards the entire book. So the overview gave, I tried to keep it simple, but I think I messed up, and it's not simple. The book is also not simple. It's very hard to keep up with. It's good that the multiple points of view are like geographically divided, but it kind of makes it more confusing. I had to go back and forth a lot to really remember, but at one point when I got hooked, I knew what was being talked about, which is good. And it took me around 200 pages to actually get hooked to the book, which is much, but not in this case because again this is a big book. And but yeah, maybe that could have been done better. And the prologue actually tries to give like a one flat base for everything to start, but it kind of failed to do so. I read the prologue again after I finished the book and I realized, okay, that was its intention, but it was too poetic, maybe too, but they were facts. But yeah, it could have been better. And another thing that was confusing while reading this book was the names. I have noted those down as well, right? So, people, places, and things names get kind of similar in this book. For example, Ines is a place, a queendom. Isin is a person. So like when I say it out loud, I can like you can see you can hear the difference. But when you read it, Ines and Isin kind of uh, are very similar. And there's another place called Ersir, which is again sounding different, but kind of the spelling kind of matches Ines and Isin. Some parts of the book were boring, they were stretched, but I think they were kind of important to tell this complex story. In all, I loved this book. What I really loved was that, as I mentioned earlier, that there's full on equality. Like it is a I think a review says that it is like a feminist successor to the Great Game of Thrones. So yes, this book is a very feminist book, and that's what kind of makes your heart happy. And on my Instagram page, I think I posted also about this really tiny thing that Glorian the princess in a party is eating like a few servings of cheesecake, etc. And a princess doing that is not is like we haven't seen like Disney princesses have this thinner waist, right? So points like these are made across the book, and in a very subtle way. Like it's not a feminist movement book. it's just a normal book, like how the world should be basically. Yeah. And there are many themes that are touched upon. There's the abandoned child theme, there's the uh, uh, and parental love kind of plays a very important role in this book. And how strong a parental love can be, how far can a parent go for their child, at the same time how much a parent can mess up their child's lives, and how much a child yearns for their affection and approval, which isn't talked about much. Actually, it is being talked about in this day and age, because yeah, so parents are also very important to children as much as children are important to the parents. So that's like the overarching theme. Then there's good versus evil, but the evil are creatures, mostly not people. Then there's the Priory, which is protecting the truth, the real story of the Cleveland that I mentioned. And I love this world that's been built so intricately, and there are so many details. Like once you start reading, you really think you have been transported. We keep talking about how books transport us to another world, but books like these actually do that, because it is again a fantasy genre. So you just leave your whole real world behind and you get to dive in a book like this, and characters which are very relatable at the same time, uh, grand, I would say. It's all good. It's a good book. I don't know how many stars I'll give this book, because I didn't think star wise. Like when I finished reading this book, I thought I'd give it like 4.5, like because I really felt good. But I think by the end of the book, I what I didn't like was that the ending is not satisfactory. And the same was with the Priory of the Orange Tree, because like this bigger book, you would expect a grand ending, the hero does something, that this, but none of that happens in this one. I don't remember much about Priory, but I remember I didn't like the ending so much. But in this one, like the heroes are there, they're fighting, they are trying to make people survive, they're protecting the people, but at the end of the day, it the heroes don't really save the day, except one maybe. But yeah, the day is saved by the universe, or how things are supposed to be in the grander scheme of things, which is good. But we are really invested in the characters. We want the characters to unite and do some dishum dishum, and just so that didn't happen in this one. And a better ending would have been welcome. And after this bigger book, I think a ending should also be a bit of a detailed, like not a detailed, but like a whole thing. But yeah, I think it was kind of abrupt for me. It may be different for others. So I think I'll give this book a 3.9, just to keep it in the 3 category and not the 4 category, but also to keep it near, very much near 4. So yeah, 3.9 out of 5. And I hope you like this review. Please like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Marked by Manya. I have an Instagram account, which is a book blog, again by the name of Marked by Manya. And I hope you like this review. I did my best. I made notes, because of course without notes it's not really possible for this book. And yeah, see you soon. See you in the next video. Bye bye.